On to you crabs out here. So you have the Two of Cups, the King of Cups, and then you crabs also have the Eight of Cups. So for you crabs, um uh I'm seeing that a lot of you crabs very much so uh I don't see that you're walking away from someone per se. I see that you crabs are getting to know somebody, but um you want to be able to think about them in the sense that on some Two of Cups, King of Cups, and Eight of Cups, you're not necessarily walking away from them, but it's more so you want to take your time. You don't want to fall in love. You want to be in love, meaning that you don't want this thing to be like such a wild, drastic decision that you don't really see the issues that pop up if they show up, and you just excuse it away because it just feels so good to actually like the person and have someone that likes you to the point where you forget about the foundation. You crabs forget about the things that you need to watch and the things that you just need to essentially observe, right? You need to keep in mind. And so because of this, a lot of you crabs very much so, like I said, you want to not be with them, but you also want to think about them, right? Also a sense of like if a person can get you thinking about them, then you crabs will not necessarily take them seriously, right? They have to show you something that stands out, essentially. And see, this is what I mean when I say that a person has to stand out. You have to have something unique. You have to have a talent or something like that, right? Because when you see dysfunctional people, and I've talked about this before, dysfunctional people come at a dime a dozen, right? Same person, different shirt. So it's nothing to have someone who is dysfunctional, right? They are actually more frequent to come by than someone who has something going on that's decent. And see, then you have the Eight of Pentacles, and the Eight of Pentacles speaks to how you crabs, um, also, like I said, you want to think about them. You want to think about the next time you see them, what will happen. You want to get to know them. But you don't want to, like I said, you don't want to fall in love. You crabs want to be in love. You want to still have your own identity as well, where you don't feel like you're getting so merged with the person to the point where you lose all identity in who you crabs actually are. You crabs want to be able to legitimately be in said relationship in a fruitful way without you want to be in a relationship with somebody in a healthy way, but you don't want it to be like you are triangulating them, right, around you, meaning that they become your whole life, right? Basically, you become everything. They become your whole life. And everything that you know in your life is what I'm trying to say. Because you understand that that's dangerous, right? Because what happens if a person isn't necessarily a bad person, but what happens if a person disappoints you, which inevitably it will happen. And then you crabs now feel a certain kind of way because you feel so down because you were so up and high up in the sky. Now this person essentially lets you fall because they're not meaning to disappoint you, but it's just a natural occurrence of what happens with life, right? None of us are perfect, right? We all falter sometimes. We all fall sometimes. And so the Ace of Wands represents how, so a lot of you crabs are going into relationships realistically. And and you're doing it, you're striving to do it from a disciplined perspective, a disciplined manner, because you crabs have learned your life lessons that you can be as guarded as you want to be. But if you do not pay attention to what's happening, it doesn't matter how guarded you are up front. If someone works their way in and then they let you down and then they start to do all this nonsense, it doesn't really matter now, does it? Right? You're still going to experience the same kind of discomfort anyway. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. And a lot of you crabs are understanding that instead of you being so kind of calcified or hard to interact with, it's more so about just paying attention to what's going on around you, and don't mind about having to strive to be so defensive and needing to always protect yourself and stuff like this. Then you have the Hanged Man, the Sun, and then you have the Two of Pentacles, right? Because another thing too about crabs, right? Another thing too about y'all, right, is that y'all represent the tenacity of the spirit, right? You represent the person, you represent the will of a person. You represent the will to live. Crabs do, right? You crabs do. So the reason why it is I was saying, right, in the other crab video about how it is that y'all gotta watch that is because, and this is another thing too that I've noticed, right, is that there's no need to be super defensive. And the reason why, right, there's no need to be super defensive or to think that you have to defend yourself is because some things in you will come online and turn on like that when you're in danger. There's been times where I have been in danger, right? Of course, not doing anything goofy, right? But due to circumstances, right? Due to circumstances. Should I say that on YouTube? I've been walking down the street and crossing a store, and a person shot at the store as I was crossing it. It's legitimately happened. It made the local news. So when things like this happen, things in you will come online where you will actually protect yourself. That's just the natural thing. So the ideology of needing to protect is a sense of overprotection because there's no need for it. The Hanged Man, the Sun card, and the Two of Pentacles, like I was talking about, represent how you crabs just have to stop overthinking it. Because there's a sense of you're doing too much. You're trying to overdo it. You crabs are like thinking about, oh, what should you do and how you can work this thing to your best advantage. What's going on, and why is it that certain things aren't working out even though you're advancing, stuff like this? Because you're thinking about it too much. That's part of it. You're overthinking it. You crabs are in a situation where you're trying to be super calcified on some crabs type stuff, and then at the same time you're trying to, like, this is a guard, right? This is in fighting, you have a guard like this, guard like that, right, on the other side. A guard like this, right? Call it 52 blocks, right? Call it 52 blocks. So you're guarding yourself too much on one hand, and then on the other hand, it's you're trying to find somebody. What's going on? What's up with this? Da, 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 da. And it's like you may be overthinking it though, because don't think of failed relationships too personally, right? Unless the person made it personal. But the point that I'm trying to make here with that is get through it, right? Get through the issue so that you can learn the lesson, so that you can actually do something better with yourself, is what I'm trying to say. Because the Hanged Man and the Sun card represents you crabs have a lot going for you, but you're struggling. You're getting yourself more entangled by thinking that you're not good enough, and then you bouncing back these two philosophies. And the Two of Pentacles proves my point. You're bouncing back these two philosophies, and what you're doing is you're frustrating yourself. As to where the World and the Chariot, right? Capricorn and the opposite sign, and you crabs, right, showed up in your own reading. You have all this opportunity and stuff like this, and you will have more opportunities to find someone, money, health, and all of that. But your money and your health are good. It's just that your relationships are kind of doing poorly to a certain extent, because you're finding people, you just can't keep them. And the reason why is because, well, many reasons. One of the reasons why is probably because they're not really ready for a real relationship. Another reason why is because they're not really ready for a relationship, and then you're internalizing them not being ready for a relationship as you're not good enough, when that's not necessarily true at all. So let's clarify the World card. You have the Nine of Wands, Ace of Wands, Eight of Swords, the Lovers, and then you have the Hanged Man. That's my point, which you already have. You already have the Hanged Man, right? So that just much more shows that there's an emphasis on that, because the Nine of Wands and the Ace of Wands, to clarify the World card, speaks to how you crabs, you're thinking about it so much, right? You're thinking about, like, being appealing to people. You don't understand that you already are appealing, right? Whether it's Snow the Product, Margot Robbie, what's another? Ariana Grande, attractive, very attractive, just not necessarily, you crabs are not necessarily thinking of yourselves as being attractive the way that you should. And then you have the Eight of Swords and the Lovers. So there's this sense of you crabs feeling like you need to essentially become more giving and stuff like this. And it's like, you crabs just have to have a good mix of giving and being able to offer value if they bring value to you, because you don't want to offer so much value you leave nothing for yourself, and other people are just benefiting off of you, and that's it, right? So the Hanged Man represents how you are in a situation where you crabs very much so just have to be patient. The Hanged Man is a representation of not trying so hard, because the Hanged Man represents you've already done the work, but you doing more work will only make it worse. You'll only stress yourself out more. And what it's saying is, don't, essentially, don't. So other than that, that's pretty much it. As for what's going on right now, you crabs just have to understand to not worry about your love life. The best thing that you crabs can do is to just be a decent and upright of a person as you can. Continue to find your North Node, right? Live out your North Node, right? Do it with integrity. Do it with honor. Do it with self-respect. Respect other people. And you should ultimately be fine. Even if it's difficult for you to find a relationship, I want you to understand that don't internalize it so much. because a lot of it probably doesn't really have anything to do with you as to why it's so hard to be in a relationship with you. So that's pretty much it. Peace.